Before anything else pulls your attention away, I want you to pause and really hear this. What I'm about to share has quietly ended more relationships than arguments, distance, or even infidelity itself. It's a pattern that shows up again and again, and most men never see it coming until the damage is already done. This isn't about blame or shame, it's about awareness, because awareness is what gives you power before pain hardens into regret. Many men believe cheating starts when another man enters the picture. Psychologically, that's almost never the beginning. The real beginning is much quieter. It starts with a subtle emotional shift inside the relationship that often goes unnoticed. From the outside, things may look calm, stable, even good. But internally, something essential is slowly fading. A common mistake happens right here. A man becomes less emotionally present while believing he's doing the right thing. He thinks being reliable, not creating drama, providing, and staying loyal should be enough. He assumes that consistency equals security, and security equals happiness. On a logical level, that makes sense. On an emotional level, especially from a woman's nervous system, something very different is happening. From her side, nothing explodes. There's no sudden decision to betray the relationship. Instead, there's a growing feeling of being unseen. Not unheard, unseen. She may still talk, still function, still show up, but inside she feels like her inner world is no longer being met. When this feeling lasts too long, it doesn't turn into anger. It turns into silence. This is where many men misunderstand what's happening. Silence feels like peace. It feels like maturity. It feels like the relationship has settled into something comfortable. Psychologically, silence often means something else entirely. It can mean emotional withdrawal. It can mean she stopped trying to reach you because reaching no longer feels safe or useful. When a woman begins to emotionally detach, her system does it for protection. She shares less. She laughs less freely. She stops bringing you the small details of her day. She becomes fine. And fine is one of the most dangerous words in a relationship because it sounds neutral while hiding resignation. Desire does not thrive on neutrality. It needs emotional presence. It needs curiosity. It needs the sense that someone is awake with you, not just next to you. When that presence fades, loyalty can slowly shift from a living feeling into a habit. And habits, when emotionally empty, are fragile. Infidelity doesn't usually begin with physical attraction. It begins with emotional validation. It begins when someone else notices her tone, her energy, her pauses. Someone asks questions you stopped asking, not because you didn't care, but because you thought you already knew her. Her brain, wired for connection, responds to that attention like water to dry soil. This isn't about bad men losing women because they were cruel or neglectful on purpose. In many cases, it's good men who simply didn't realize that love needs ongoing attention the same way a flame needs oxygen. Without it, the fire doesn't explode, it just quietly goes out. To understand this, you have to step into her inner experience for a moment. When a woman starts drifting, it's rarely dramatic. It shows up in small tests of connection. She tells a story that doesn't really matter. She mentions a feeling that seems minor. She asks a question that sounds random. These moments are not meaningless. They are emotional signals. Her nervous system is asking, "Are you still here with me? Do you see me now?" When those signals are met with distraction, quick fixes, logic, or half attention, something clicks inside her. Not rage, not a fight, resignation. Her body learns that reaching doesn't lead to closeness, so it slowly stops reaching at all. Many men are taught that leadership means solving problems, but emotionally, women often aren't looking for solutions in these moments. They are looking for presence, warmth, eye contact, curiosity. When that presence is missing, her system begins to shut down attraction to protect her heart. This is where the real danger zone starts. Once attraction fades, commitment can start to feel like a rule instead of a desire. And rules are easier to break than feelings. When emotional needs go unmet for long enough, another man doesn't have to be better than you. He just has to be more present in the moments you stopped noticing. Here's something many men never hear. Women don't cheat to cause pain. They cheat to feel alive again, to feel chosen, to feel emotionally felt. When that feeling has been missing for a long time, guilt often loses to desire. Loyalty without emotional engagement can feel empty inside her body, even if she still respects you deeply. There's a pattern that shows up again and again right before cheating happens. The man feels more relaxed, more secure. He thinks the relationship is solid. Meanwhile, she feels increasingly invisible. That mismatch is dangerous, because by the time she crosses a line, she has often already left emotionally. The betrayal is not the beginning, it's the symptom. This is not meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up, because emotional presence is a skill, and skills can be learned. When a man knows how to stay emotionally engaged without chasing or begging, something shifts. He becomes rare, grounded, hard to replace. The mistake isn't that you stop loving her, it's that you start operating on memory instead of attention. You treat her like someone you already understand, instead of someone who is still evolving. A woman's emotional world is alive and changing. She needs to feel that who she is today matters, not just who she was when you first fell in love. When curiosity fades, attraction slowly follows. You may still ask how her day was, but you don't really listen. You hear words, not tone. You respond out of habit, not genuine interest. From her side, you're consistent. From her nervous system's side, you're fading into the background. This is the moment where her brain begins to notice contrast. Not consciously at first, she just feels more energy when someone reacts to her emotions, when someone notices small shifts, when someone pauses and really looks at her. That contrast creates chemistry, even if she never intended it to. You don't have to be physically absent to create this gap. You can be right there and still emotionally gone. Women bond through emotional responsiveness. When that bond weakens, desire doesn't vanish overnight. It goes dormant. And dormant desire can be reawakened by the wrong person at the wrong time. Cheating rarely happens because of temptation alone. Psychologically, it happens because of permission. Permission she gives herself after feeling emotionally alone for too long. She tells herself a story that she tried, that she stayed, that she gave signals that weren't seen. That story becomes her internal justification, often without her fully realizing it. Being kind is not the same as being present. Being loyal is not the same as being emotionally engaging. And being stable is not the same as being attractive. Attraction lives in awareness, in attention, in the feeling that you are awake with her, not just sharing space. This is the foundation everything else rests on. And in the next part, we'll talk about what actually keeps a woman emotionally anchored, especially in the moments when distance starts to appear, and why many men unknowingly push her further away right when they think they're trying to do the right thing. When emotional distance begins to creep in, most men sense it before they can explain it. Something feels different. The energy has shifted. She seems quieter, more neutral, less expressive. This is usually the moment where a relationship can still be redirected. But it's also the moment where men most often sabotage themselves without realizing it. The instinctive reactions tend to fall into two extremes. Some men pull back emotionally to protect their pride. They become more self-contained, less expressive, less vulnerable. Others do the opposite. They chase reassurance, ask repeated questions, seek constant confirmation that everything is okay. Both responses come from fear and both push her further away. Female psychology does not respond well to pressure, and it does not respond well to emotional withdrawal. What it responds to is grounded presence. A calm, steady emotional availability that doesn't demand, doesn't interrogate, and doesn't disappear. This is where emotional leadership comes in. Emotional leadership does not mean controlling the relationship or managing her feelings. It means being able to stay present and emotionally stable, even when there is uncertainty. When a man can sit with emotional tension without panicking, something powerful happens inside her nervous system. She feels held rather than managed, seen rather than monitored. One of the most misunderstood moments in relationships happens right here. When a man senses her pulling away, he often becomes careful. He edits himself, he softens his opinions, he avoids topics that might create friction. He walks on eggshells because he doesn't want to push her further away. From his perspective, he's being respectful and considerate. From her psychological perspective, it often feels like emotional withdrawal. She doesn't experience it as safety, she experiences it as you disappearing. Her system was already uncertain, already questioning the connection. When you shrink, she feels the emotional weight of the relationship shift onto her shoulders, and that feels lonely and exhausting. Women do not want men who never challenge them emotionally. They want men who can remain solid while emotions move around them. When you hide your certainty or suppress your natural masculine presence, her nervous system loses its anchor. She doesn't feel led. She feels alone with her feelings. This is one of the moments where she may begin opening up to someone else in a way that feels harmless at first. A coworker, a friend, someone who listens without fear, someone who reacts without filtering himself. The contrast becomes dangerous not because he's extraordinary, but because he's present. Many men believe giving space means pulling back emotionally. In reality, healthy space means staying emotionally available without forcing closeness. You don't repair distance by becoming quieter. You repair it by becoming clearer, calmer, and more grounded. Another critical mistake often happens here. Men stop expressing desire. They confuse respect with emotional distance. They think wanting less will make her feel safer. But desire, when expressed calmly and confidently, is not disrespect. It's reassurance. It tells her, I still see you. I still choose you. Without that signal, she can begin to feel taken for granted. Women rarely cheat when they feel deeply wanted and emotionally safe at the same time. Those two experiences together are powerful anchors. When either one disappears, the bond weakens. There is a warning sign almost every man notices but explains away. It's not anger, it's not conflict, it's emotional neutrality. Her reactions flatten. She stops asking questions about you. She no longer seeks reassurance or closeness the way she used to. Many men interpret this as security or maturity. Psychologically, it often means the opposite. When a woman stops reaching, it's often because she has stopped hoping. Hope is active and noisy. Detachment is quiet. She may start focusing more on herself. New routines, new energy, more privacy, not dramatically, calmly, controlled. This is often misread as independence or personal growth, when in many cases it's emotional separation. When a man finally notices this, his instinct may be to confront it directly, to demand clarity, to ask what's going on in a tense or fearful way. That approach usually triggers defensiveness. She feels exposed, pressured, and even less safe sharing her inner world. The response that actually creates safety is strength with softness, awareness without panic, presence without control. Instead of interrogation, a grounded statement does far more. Something simple and honest, like acknowledging the distance and expressing a desire to reconnect, can open a door rather than slam it shut. When a woman feels that you can sense emotional shifts without losing yourself, her nervous system relaxes. She feels safer telling the truth. Safety is what invites honesty, not pressure. If she is not cheated yet, this is often the narrow window where reconnection is still possible. It doesn't happen instantly. Trust and attraction rebuild gradually when pressure disappears and presence returns. Even if the relationship cannot be saved, this moment still matters. How you handle emotional uncertainty shapes who you become. Men who grow here don't repeat the same pattern in future relationships. They don't carry the same unresolved wound forward. The real damage of being cheated on is not just the betrayal. It's never understanding why it happened and unconsciously recreating the same dynamic with the next partner. Growth here breaks that cycle. At the core of all of this is a simple but uncomfortable truth. Silence does not protect connection. Avoidance does not create loyalty. Fear does not build intimacy. Presence does. Presence shows up in small ways. Eye contact that lasts a moment longer. Follow-up questions that show genuine curiosity. Responding to emotions rather than just words. Staying emotionally engaged even when things feel uncertain. When a man reclaims this emotional spine, his ability to feel, speak, desire, and stay grounded, something shifts inside the relationship. Her need to look elsewhere weakens, not because she is controlled, but because she is fulfilled. In the final part, we'll bring everything together and talk about the deeper truth that determines whether a woman stays emotionally loyal, even when temptation appears, and why understanding this changes not just relationships, but the man you become. There is one final truth that brings everything together, and it's the one most men never hear clearly enough to let it change them. Women do not stay loyal to a man because he is perfect, because he follows rules, or because time has been invested. They stay loyal because of how they feel about themselves when they are with him. This is where many relationships quietly fail. A man may be good, dependable, and faithful, yet the emotional experience of being with him no longer makes her feel alive, seen, or emotionally met. When that happens, loyalty begins to feel like effort instead of desire. And effort over time drains the nervous system. Female psychology is not built on contracts, it is built on moment-to-moment emotional experience. How safe she feels to be herself, how connected she feels in small, ordinary moments, how emotionally awake the man beside her feels right now, not who he was at the beginning of the relationship. When a woman feels emotionally small, invisible, or alone next to a man, her body starts searching for relief, not always consciously, often quietly. But when she feels alive, safe, desired, and emotionally met, loyalty becomes natural, not forced, not promised, chosen. This is why trying to prevent cheating through control never works. Monitoring her phone, questioning her movements, competing with other men, all of that communicates fear, and fear is not an anchor. It erodes attraction. What actually keeps her from crossing lines is connection. Deep, embodied, emotional connection. Presence is the anchor, and presence is not loud or dramatic. It is calm, attentive, grounded. It is a man who can look at a woman and actually see her without trying to manage or control what he sees. A man who is emotionally awake. When a man becomes this way, something important happens inside her. Her nervous system relaxes. She trusts him more, not because he's perfect, but because he is emotionally available and steady. Trust grows where fear disappears. This is what makes a woman pause before crossing a line. Not guilt, not morality alone. Connection. When emotional needs are met, temptation loses its power. There is a moment many men look back on after betrayal and realize they saw the signs but explained them away. The flattening of emotion, the lack of curiosity, the quiet independence that felt like growth. In reality, it was often detachment. By the time cheating happens, the real loss has usually already occurred much earlier. That is why waiting until a crisis to become present rarely works. Presence cannot be reactive. It has to be consistent. Not intense, just real. And if you are listening to this with a tight feeling in your chest, that's not fear. That's awareness waking up. That's the part of you that knows you can do better, not to keep someone through control, but to become someone stronger, steadier, and more emotionally grounded. A man who understands emotional dynamics does not chase loyalty. He inspires it. He doesn't try to be everything. He tries to be present. He doesn't try to hold on through fear. He stays connected through awareness. Whether a relationship survives or not, this understanding changes you. It breaks cycles. It stops you from repeating the same pain with different faces. It turns heartbreak into growth instead of bitterness. The real lesson is not about preventing cheating. It's about becoming the kind of man whose presence creates safety, desire, and emotional connection naturally. A man who listens before distance grows, who notices before silence hardens, who stays awake instead of assuming. Because by the time betrayal happens, the warning signs have usually already passed. The opportunity was earlier. And now you know where to look. A man who learns this does not live in fear of loss. He lives in presence. And presence, more than anything else, is what keeps connection alive.